the McKinsey group, the global consulting firm McKinsey, they just released a study a couple months ago estimating that the U.S. can save 1.2 trillion. I'll emphasize that T because at this, unfortunately in this economy it seems like you have to mention the T word to get people's attention. So here I'm able to mention the T word. $1.2 trillion in energy savings through energy efficiency investments in the U.S. between now and 2020. Ways that will pay for themselves. And by pay for themselves, McKinsey is using, for the financial folks in the room, a discount rate of 7%. In my business, I probably wouldn't make an investment that made 7%, even if you up that to 20% return that you need to get on an energy efficiency investment. The numbers go down a little bit, reduced by about 20%, still $1 trillion investments that we can make as a country. Sorry, about $500 billion in investments that we can make as a country that would reduce our energy bills by $1 trillion, saving us, on net, $500 billion. So that's a big number, and it's sort of hard to even think about what that number means, but let me give you a couple examples. That means basically cutting our energy bills by about a quarter. Roughly a quarter of our nation's energy bills are because of things that we could be doing better, we could be doing smarter. So think about that for your own home, your own business. Think about it from the perspective of city budgets. And I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but for an average size town in Monterey County, think about an electric bill of $250,000 to $500,000 for an electric and gas PG&E bill. Cutting that in a quarter, by a quarter, is one more police officer that we can have, or make it that much more manageable for some of the cities, like, well, I don't have to go through the list of the troubles that our cities are having, but saving $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year for some of our cities and towns is money worth going after. And in my mind, it basically comes down to two issues, and I'm going to describe some of the things that we're doing as a company to address those two issues. The first is high upfront costs. So it may be that there's a great investment that I can make in my improving the operations of my business, but it costs $100,000, and we all know the credit markets aren't great right now. Maybe I just can't get that money, or I can't get that money with anywhere near a reasonable rate. And so it may pay for itself if I can get cash at 8%, but if I can get cash, I'm going to put it to something else in my business. The second issue is information asymmetry, namely, people have busy lives, and they don't want to spend the time reading through the technical manual of their HVAC system, and they don't want to spend the time to go out and take these measures. And fortunately for most of us, energy is not all that big a part of our business budget or our home budget. So I'm renting office space for my business in Marina. I didn't even bother looking at what the energy bills were before I rented that space. That's an example of the sort of information problems that exist. It's just not really worth my time, and it's probably not worth a lot of your time if you're running a business to really dedicate yourself to this for a while because you have a business to run. And people are recognizing that, all the way up to our president and Secretary Chu, the Secretary of Energy, who was working in this area at Berkeley National Labs before he was tapped to lead the Department of Energy. And they've put in a lot of stimulus money into nudging people in this direction. So let me just give you an example of the sort of thing that is now available for small cities, and we're working with a couple small cities and a couple towns in Monterey County to do just this. So take a city that has an energy bill of, say, $500,000, $250,000, $500,000. In the stimulus bill, there's grants available, but there's also low-interest loans available. So loans at the range of 3% or 1%. It's hard to compete with that sort of interest rate, but you can invest in a lot of energy efficiency projects that will become cash flow positive in the first year for our cities because they have access to that sort of low-cost capital. In terms of the rate of return are just phenomenal. They make, I think they would make any investor, maybe the person who won the award for financial advising would pay attention to these numbers. They're paying back in 13 months. They have they invested right around $1 million across Monterey County and got back just shy of $1 million in energy savings in the first year. Just a remarkable rate of return. If you think about that, so the first year you repaid the original investment, and then it's all gravy from there on out. Needless to say, in the process, you're reducing your carbon footprint, you're generating jobs to actually go in and invest in these sorts of things, and you're freeing up money for something else in your budget. In the meantime, I'd encourage you to think about what you can do, because there's amazing tax incentives currently available. Investment tax credit on the order of 30%. Well, it is 30% investment tax credit. There's rebates available through the California Energy Commission and through PG&E. So all sorts of incentives to encourage people to invest in these in energy efficiency that in and of themselves pay for themselves fairly quickly. So it's, you still have to scratch your head why it takes that much pushing. But hey, it's available. It's available to us in our businesses and in our homes, and it's an opportunity. And it's an opportunity that is environmentally sustainable because it's reducing greenhouse gases, and that's something that we need to be doing, that laws in California and probably likely soon laws at the federal level will be requiring us to do. Get ahead of that. It's an opportunity for pursuing sustainability in our communities because it's generating green jobs. And when I say green jobs, it doesn't mean some new specialty. It's creating jobs for electricians to come in and swap out for more efficient lights. So you don't need to be trained as a green electrician. You just need to have the right light spec'd in your project. Jobs for particularly very low-skill jobs, which hopefully can be helpful in some of the difficult challenges that Salinas is facing, and really a number of our cities with high unemployment rate. Low-skill jobs like insulating that really don't require much at all other than a willingness to get a little dirty. So it's environmentally sustainable, socially sustainable, and economically sustainable because it more than pays for it.